Oh, it's I think it's leaking somewhere at the thing.
What's going on, guys? I'm Tom with the Fueled Podcast. This is Zach and Michelle.
That's Michelle.
And Misha.
Yeah.
Just coming out aggressive, huh?
Yeah.
Right out of it.
Coming out aggressive. So what's up, Tom? What you got going on?
Got a new haircut.
I did.
Is it because you're on the podcast, or just because you felt like you needed a haircut?
It's mainly for the people.
It's for the people.
I'm a man of the people.
I did that the first time. Before we did the first podcast, I was like, I need a haircut, and then it didn't happen. And then I got a haircut right before the second podcast that they'll never see.
That's true, yeah.
And
it
now,
was looking really good, too.
And now I'm like frustrated by it, so I'm just done. Never getting a haircut again.
Don't stop talking about that episode. We're not talking about it.
No. Okay, fine.
What
episode?
Happen.
No,
Yeah, exactly.
I was just talking about my haircut. I'm done with my haircut. Not,
No, your haircut looks great, man.
I mean, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
No, it looks good. But yeah, no, I got a haircut.
What do you look?
It was actually
What do you
for
look
a
at my hair? I got some hair left. That's what we're talking about.
You got plenty of hair. What are you
Got
talking
great
about?
hair.
You got plenty of hair.
Right.
I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah,
what are we
doing?
doing?
This is the
Welcome to
haircut
the
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Field Podcast where we talk about hair.
Yeah.
42 minutes.
42
Hair.
minutes of hair products.
Okay. So, I guess one of the things we're going to talk about a little, or touch base on a little bit, is the infamous EJ207, which is, for those of you who know, the EJ series of engines that came in Subarus in Japan in the STI generation. Correct me if I'm wrong, they started in 99
Okay.
with the version
so
7.
So we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
And after that, we're going to do current events.
Yes. So, what he said.
Just stick around for the non-Subaru people. We will also talk about other stuff. But yeah, I mean, EJ207, you guys do a lot of those.
Yes. Yes. A lot.
You wanna give us the basic rundown?
The basic rundown of the 207, or what we do. Well, the 207.
Or I mean, just go into as much
Yeah,
detail
yeah.
as you feel like. You know?
No, it's just so especially for, which we'll get into. We don't only do them on 2-liter cars. We can do them in other cars. Best bang for the buck. Cheapest horsepower, reliability, sound.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know,
It's a
cool
bold
factor.
statement.
You know, what is it?
It's a bold statement.
Well,
It's a bold statement. For what you can get one for, a good quality one, and do some, prepping on it, and drop her in, wire her up, tune it. It's just that there's nothing like it. It red lines really high.
just to put it in perspective, so all the guys that do any kind of like rallycross or like performance racing, like in the higher up leagues in Europe or wherever, they're running in a Subaru, they'll run a
Oh,
2-liter base block.
update for those of you that were here for the last one. We talked about the Forester rally car from Dakar.
Oh, what'd you find
Oh,
out?
what did we find out?
The Dakar Subaru Forester from 2010 was running an EJ207.
That's true.
There you go. Yeah. So they're
Actually, everything. All the rally cars, all the
Yeah.
current Subaru rally cars are based on
2-liter
207
Yeah,
platforms.
they're based on 207 platforms.
Yeah, and obviously Subaru's rally team is not exactly the same
No.
engine, but it is based on that. It's just
Yes.
it's the perfect dimensions to fit inside that little box of an engine.
So you get higher revs.
Way
But
higher.
the biggest thing, and I think the biggest proponent as to why people use them in like endurance and high performance racing in the first place is because the block itself, the cylinder walls are stock; they're thicker. Now a lot of those guys will probably obviously go like closed deck or something like that
Or
for
sleeve
even more
or whatever,
yeah.
whatever the case may be for that one.
But the reason why they're a lot better than say like the 2.5 platform, which is what they have in the U.S., is because the cylinder walls are thicker, and I think maybe that has something to do with.
Do you have one?
I might have one, yeah.
Well, yes,
We'll get there.
Oh,
Yes.
I was legitimately curious. I didn't know.
he does, but
Yeah.
his is a little different than.
It's
And this is
weird-
where we
it's
can
weird.
go
It has
2.5
special sauce.
engines.
It's special.
It has
Yeah.
special sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can actually do the conversion on newer 2.5 cars by doing some creative machining and different cams where we could run that block and those heads in a car that was meant to have an EJ257, a 2.5 liter. So, you can do a lot with them.
What heads?
So, still the 207 heads.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant 2.
No, we can still use them. We'll use, close to stock cams or stock cams at a 257 will run, but with some machining and
you don't necessarily have to machine. It's just the route that we went. So what we're referencing is my car. I have an 04 STI USDM that originally came with a 257, so the 2.5 liter turbo car with the what's the turbo? The VF39. VF39. Yep. Sorry. I was like having a seizure right there. So what I ended up doing is sitting on it for 3 years and figuring out what I wanted to do with the engine. And
no.
No.
You had the engine for 3 years.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I did have it for a little while.
And now he wants a K swapped.
MR2.
It's coming. That's
I remember. I can tell you exactly when I received. I know
when it was.
Okay.
I know when it was.
Ooh.
Man, it had so much dust on it that we were gonna I don't know what we're gonna do with it.
It had.
We had mothballs all over it.
Oh, God.
Why are you so salty about
so
this?
salty.
Because you stored it for free for 3 years?
No, I had it in my house. There's no reason why he's salty.
Oh, okay.
He just was giving me trouble.
By his house, he means.
Misha got some trouble every time he gave me trouble because every time he was like, "Where's your car? Why isn't it running yet?
Yeah, why isn't it running
You
yet?
have an engine. Why isn't it running yet?" I would tell him, "It's like, hey, where's your Nissan Safari that you don't have yet?"
I could have had it.
I can say nothing. My S10 Blazer has now been down for a full 8 years.
Oh.
8 years?
Yeah, so I was driving.
Doesn't that mean you're like legally married to it now or something?
Right. You got a weird relationship. Put something down for 8 years and you're married to it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the 7-year rule or whatever.
I was referring to the putting down.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I was in an accident with it, and it had the 2.8 V6 in it, and I was like, at the time, I was like, cool, perfect time, front's all apart, perfect time to swap motors. And then I realized that I was dumb and broke and in college, and I was like, not gonna happen. So then I put it off for a few years, and then I bought an LS, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy a house. And then it's just finally just now starting to head the right direction. Is it just...
I think we've all
it's like, look, I love the car, I'll never sell that Blazer. It was the first car that I built, and it's like, my dad and I painted it. It's super nice, but I
thought your dad was a Ford guy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Got to do it again, Dan. I know. He came into the office and tried to kill me a couple days ago. So. Why don't keep it going?
Well, he'll probably bring by his F-250 tomorrow. So.
That was a 250?
Yeah. It's
nice.
F-250. Yeah.
Nice.
No. No, I just parked it and then never got back to it. So in terms of having stuff sit for a while, I think I am not allowed to say anything to anybody.
I think there's a large percentage of people that fall into that category as well.
Lots. Everybody does. Yeah. Have something.
Yeah, so it sat for like a number of years. I think it was actually like 2.5. And it was in my garage looking all pretty. And then finally I was like, all right, I got to figure out how to get this running. So it was 2.5.
Nah, I'm just
it was 2.5.
Counting in general.
just
practicing your math.
Just practicing math.
So finally got the engine mocked up. And then I shot myself in the foot a little bit because I was like, I want to paint the engine bay because everything was out.
What color did you paint it?
I painted it the stock color.
Which is?
Blue, World Rally blue. Cause
was it not painted before?
No, it was, but like the thing about the engine bays is that they're not glossed, they're not like cleared over, like they're just a factory body paint. So
was it not painted before?
You're such a jerk. It looks really good now, by the way.
It does.
I think
it took a lot more time than I thought it would, but
I have a thing.
Tell everybody though, real quick. When did you paint that engine compartment?
When?
Yeah, I mean, just out of curiosity, like way in advance. I'll give you a range. Was it way in advance, or 1 to 2 days before putting the engine and getting on the dyno? I'm just curious.
It was.
I just random.
It was a week before I went on the dyno.
Okay, there you go.
and it was dry before I put the engine.
Yeah. Well,
Definitely dry.
I don't know. We were picking up drops of blue off the dyno. We don't know where it came from.
There were no drops.
It's got any runs in it?
No. Actually, if anything,
He was offended that I asked.
Yeah.
That's all that look.
Hey, I mean, it's a pretty good job for an aerosol.
It's great.
Job. If anything, I undersprayed because there is a bit of orange peel in some places.
Aerosol gun?
Yeah. No, it was the
an
2K Clear Max aerosol.
Like
No,
just a rattle can?
just a can, yeah.
Oh, you rattle canned it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't look like it though.
No,
Well,
I just got the
get
factory
all
paint.
the paints put in rattle cans. So.
Yeah,
True.
It's a 2K
But
clear, though, so it looks
yeah,
alright.
I think he's just his
Because I'm not
method of application was good.
I'm not trying to make it a show car. I wasn't trying to like get it to be a show car. So I was like, hey, I just want it to look better, look decent, and it does. It actually looks pretty good.
So like
in
all
my
the hot rod guys are big on like matched underhoods, right? Where they do the whole engine compartment matching the rest of the car.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I have to say, dude, I'm just
You don't really give a
ceramic black, like that. Like for me, I like just the ceramic black engine compartment. If you want to paint the motor,
I will say,
because for like the hot rod guys, a lot of them do like the factory orange or blue or whatever it is.
yeah.
But like if you want to do that, fine. But like I like the engine bay black, especially in that ceramic black that I forget what company makes it, but it's like so tough, and you can just squirt and everything runs off of it. It's super nice for like actual usability. I've always been a fan of the black.
I am behind you on that. I would say it depends on.
Were
the
you
car.
behind me before?
Yes.
And now that you painted one blue, you're like, this sucks.
No. This car, I'm really glad I did it with this car because, it just depends on the car. But the fact that this is a World Rally Blue Subaru, I was like, it's going to be World Rally Blue. Like if it was any other color, like if it was like Aspen White, like I would probably go ceramic black, or if it was even red.
Aspen White's an awesome color.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love the Subaru color. Aspen White STI is pretty killer.
I like honestly, I'm a big fan of the white, the yellow, and the blue.
Yeah, the
I
yellow,
really
you don't
like
see
the
a whole
yellow
lot of the
too.
yellows.
Yeah.
Well, we saw 3 last week.
Yeah,
Same
it was a weird week.
Yeah, it was a very weird week. We had 3 of them on the lot.
Yeah.
I like yellow Z06s though too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just think it's a good color for cars like
So
that.
that week we had 3 yellow bug-eye wagons and a yellow Z06 on the lot.
They were all 2 different colors.
Oh, and a Porsche, a yellow
911,
Porsche.
yeah.
So we walk outside, we're just, what is going on? Yeah,
Here at what's
Here
Yeah,
at STL
what's
Yellow
famous
Cars.
for?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, STL Yellow Car.
That's our sponsor for this week.
STL
STL Yellow
Yellow
Cars.
Cars.
There's a shop out there called STL Yellow Cars. It's going to be like, hey,
Yeah,
wait a minute.
we're gonna launch till tomorrow.
Anyway,
Broke
so
the news early for you guys.
Yeah, sorry.
So got the
Yeah.
engine bay painted before I got it on the dyno because I was in a time crunch because I was trying to get our tuner to tune it on the dyno once.
Yeah, I
got
mean
it in
4
the
years
car.
is a long. I agree. Yeah.
Got it running.
He was in a rush.
The cool thing about this car, and the one thing that I wanted to retain, was the stock ECU that is in the car. So the USDM 4-pin STI ECU.
Oh, it's got more than 4 pins.
The five. Well, the
Are you talking about
WRX
plugs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
plugs.
No, you wanted to run the USDM ECU.
Yeah, so I didn't have to like
So you didn't have
swap
to
it
do
out
wiring,
like,
yeah.
for emissions, or like I didn't have to do wiring because like if you want to run everything that is the 207, like including the harness, you have on the
207 AVCS?
on a WRX, it's not a problem because they run the 2-liter harness, and if you want to run AVCS, you can add AVCS later.
No, we added immediately.
Yeah, so with this way, the only thing I had to do, and the only
There's no
obstacle
later.
that I really had, well, I guess 2 things. One was the throttle body's different. So the 207s up to version 9, I want to say,
Yeah.
are throttled by cable. The STIs from 04 and on are all throttled by wire. And then the other thing was the cams. The cams are different. The pickup's different on the cam sensor themselves. And then the cams on the 257 cars are a 3-wire cam versus a 2-wire on the 207 and 205.
Okay, I'm gonna go backwards and ask a question.
Yeah.
What did you do throttle body? Did you put the drive-by-wire on the 207?
No. So what I ended up doing...
That's what he did.
Well,
Drive by
yes.
wire. Yeah.
So...
Exactly. What he did.
No, yeah, that's
Sorry,
what you
yeah,
did.
no. Sorry,
I don't
no,
know
that's
if you
exactly
know
what
you
I
did that. But
It was a
That's-
tough time. Okay, there was a
I was
lot
there.
of drinks going
You
on.
did
He was
that.
high on paint fumes at that moment.
He was trying to put it in like this so he wouldn't touch the wet paint everywhere.
I have an issue like imagining wire as cable and cable as wire, so I get the two.
Why don't you just say cable throttle and then electronic throttle?
Yes, that's a much better way of doing it. Thinking machine.
Everyone in the industry calls it drive-by-wire.
Well, it's electronic throttle.
It's electronic throttle.
It's called electronic throttle.
For intensive purposes, it's electronic throttle.
Intensive purposes.
Intense.
The other
it's
thing
like a
that's
camping
different,
term.
It's intense.
The other thing that's different on the 207 is it's got long tube runner intake, which is like a cool thing to have. But the problem is you can't just bolt the electronic throttle body on the long runner tube 207 intake. God, that's so much
effort. That's a lot of effort. Right.
Because the bolt pattern is different. The bolt pattern is not the same. So you can't just take like a 257 like STI throttle body and throw it on a WRX like that. You can't just do that. They're two different bolt patterns. So what I ended up doing was just running the 257 intake with TGV deletes that were halfway decent. That were just like
but you
the
ran
TGV to cut out.
What injectors are you running? Pinks.
Yeah. So we also
you had to run WRX lower TGVs, the TGV lower intake, the TGV.
Yeah, the top feed. We had to run top feed style because the 257 car or that generation, is it 05 too, or is it just 04?
It's
04 and 05. They have side feed injection,
yeah.
So they're like big honky like they have them on the Foresters too, like the Turbo
the
Foresters.
Outbacks, Legacies,
they're all side feed.
Side feed.
And
Nissan ran those for a long time. And
yeah, so I wanted to run the pinks, the pink injectors, because that's what the 207 runs. Also because there's a lot more aftermarket support for top feed injectors, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So there's options for down the road.
Top feed is just like a regular Bosch, right?
Yeah, like a Bosch style.
Yeah.
These are Denzos, but yes.
Not to mention the fact that the fuel setup that I wanted to run wouldn't work, like that STI fuel rail would not work with that intake. So and the fuel injection. So basically,
the STI, you have aftermarket fuel rail?
No, it's a Supra fuel rail, but it's off of a newer STI. It's off of a 2018 STI.
Oh.
Because it's a top feed fuel rail. So the only obstacle I had there was the fuel pressure regulation, because on the 04 car, it's built into the rail underneath the intake. On the newer ones, it's separate. And so basically what I ended up having to do was just take the module off of the original fuel pressure regulator and just running it on the return side. So that way it would have a reference, and you just plug a boost line to it, and it's good. So had that, and then so this ends up being lots of little obstacles, not just two.
There was a lot of obstacles to make something like that.
The big one was the cams. So
cams, yeah.
There's a way I would have done it had I known certain things prior to putting this engine in and just having it done already. If you look at the 207 cams, they have like a different style pickup, and they're in a certain location. If you just you can drop 257 cams into a 207 head, and they'll fit. The only problem is that the pickup, where the cam sensor is on the passenger side, is about 7 millimeters off towards the back of the engine. So the pickup is not in line with the actual pickup on the cam. So for those of you still following me.
Yeah. It's not that it's so off, it's that the cam sensor...
No, it was off.
Well, no, but the cam sensor, it'll still read that portion of it. It doesn't read the entire length of it. So we were concerned that cam signal was going to be different than this cam signal.
Right.
I mean, it'll read that very last
I'm sure it'll pick it up,
tip of it. But since it kind of bevels up,
yeah.
So it's real deep. I mean, it's like a Woodruff key, basically, is what it is on a crankshaft.
Yeah.
And it tapers up at the very end. So we're worried about, like, well, if the depth on one side is this and the depth on the other side, what if one bank runs like this and the other bank runs like that? So tell them what we had to do.
So some of the guys that have done this swap, because this isn't like a new idea at all, like some people have done this swap, and a couple people have done it differently, but...
you guys do a bunch of them.
Well,
this is the first one
we did this way, because we usually just do a 207 in it.
Yeah. Well, no. In a
2-liter car.
Yeah, in a 2-liter
car.
If
you do,
so 207 and SDI.
Yeah, so, 207 in a WRX, bolt in.
Which is, well, I mean, it's not a bolt in, but yes.
For the most part.
There's a lot of clever wiring.
Yes. This car, yeah, it was
Especially if it's an automatic.
If I wanted to run the stock ECU, this is basically what I had to do. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we put the stock cams out of the 257 and the 207, and then the lines didn't line up. So what we ended up having to do is taking that passenger side cam to the machine shop, and then lengthening the pickup on the cam itself.
Gotcha.
7 millimeters. Mm-hmm. So that way it was in line. I've seen some guys online like hollow out or hog out the hole for the cam sensor and then just move the cam sensor over. I don't want to do that. I didn't really feel like.
Well, you were afraid. Yeah, you're afraid of leaks and.
Well, yeah, like leaks, and then also like you're basically like ruining a perfectly good head. So.
Right, and there are guys actually that have just dropped them in.
Wasn't the valve cover blue?
No, this is on the block.
No, it's on the cylinder head.
Yeah, on this. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So, and some guys have actually dropped them in, but since we didn't have our own data of how these cars actually ran and how they tuned, we weren't going to spend the time putting this thing in there. We'd rather just do it how we thought we would do it. Actually, it turned out great. The car is flawless.
Yeah, no problems at all.
Yeah.
The only other thing that we had to do in terms of the cam pickup was the actual sensor itself. In the 207 hole with a 257 cam sensor, it didn't have the proper clearance to the cam. So what I ended up having to do was take like 45 thousandths off of the thickness of the cam sensor to pull it in closer to the cam so it would pick it up correctly. And the only way you can really do that is basically sitting there with a piece of sandpaper with a hole in it and doing this for about 5 days, just trying to find.
You lower the hole in the head?
Well, we could.
Reason to live.
Ask him. Well, there's a reason why he didn't do that.
Why? What's that?
Because the engine, the head was already bolted on,
Yeah,
and that was the measurement that
this was all together. So the car.
Yeah. So 4 years later.
Yeah, 4 years later.
Hammering him hard on 4 years.
I mean, I think I bumped into that thing 1,002 times.
Oh, gosh, it was way out of the way.
He's mad about it. I think you should apologize.
I know.
Later.
This
Should
is
we
not me
hug it
mad.
out?
You want to hug it out? Can I touch you now?
Yes.
Do we need to hug it out on the internet?
Can I touch you now? That was so funny.
So yeah, that was the easiest way to do it. But again, we have seen people that drop them in, and yet the data.
I think they swap them. They swap the whole harness. They have to. Because I've seen guys that run like they swap over the throttle pedal assembly so that way they can run a cable throttle. They swap over the entire harness.
Yeah.
Like, and the only thing they do is basically get like all JDM stuff, and then it's just like not.
Yeah. This is the
street
more
legal car anymore.
sexier way to do it because it's literally you can't tell that that's not a you know.
For those of you looking to do the swap, highly recommend just getting a WRX. But if you have an STI and you want to make it even cooler, you can put a 207 in it. It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible, and it doesn't leak, and it
it works really well.
Well,
four
again,
digits?
when you asked us this earlier, are we talking about in horsepower? Or are we talking about some weird?
4 digits of.
Is this again back to like the yen versus the dollar thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do like maybe 11. No.
1100. Tom now has an 1100 horsepower STI.
Yeah.
He didn't know until right now.
I think I can do 1100.
Tom is in outer space.
Tom is in outer space.
How's your downpipe?
It's still, the thing, that thing. It's still stock and it's still just dumping under the car, because, so I had an NVIDIA N1 race exhaust on there that bolts up perfectly fine to the VF37 turbo that came with the car. The only difference with the 207 and the setup that I ran with the turbo, yes, it's a twin scroll VF.
Well,
that's a big deal. Right?
Well, no, that one is the third. That turbo is.
So the twin scroll flange on the exhaust side is totally different than the VF39 flange. So I have a flange that I need to weld onto a downpipe that I can run to my catback. But the problem is I just have that. So.
Well, no. Right before the dyno, he had misplaced it.
Oh, okay.
And so,
I just
I was trying to avoid
done it.
so he was at the dyno actually, and he texted me. He's like, "Hey, before you go down, can you go find this, and this, and this down it?" And I'm like in the exhaust section, going like, "I don't know what he's talking about. None of this exists. These are all just literally catless downpipes, one after another. I have no idea what he's talking about."
So yeah, right now it's got the stock.
Normally,
From
other than
Japan.
Tom, through the shop, we just buy the flange itself,
Yeah,
and
you
then
can
we
get.
will slice, and then we'll weld that onto whatever downpipe, and then we make our own
Yeah.
downpipe.
Well, that's you guys have done it that way, and then there's another way where you can actually just get the whole bell mouth, and then it
Right.
tapers
Actually,
down into a
on
tree.
Jason's, that's
Yeah.
what we did there.
That's probably the
Because
easiest
he
way to
wanted
do it.
whatever. Oh, he was at Tomei. That's what it was, and he wanted that specific downpipe that he had.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
That's
right.
that's probably the easiest way to do
You
it.
guys
'Cause
done-
you just lop it, and then you boop boop tack it up.
It's just it's just welding. It's just you can do whatever you want. Really.
Just welding.
So,
It's just welding.
so I just need to weld, and then I'll have
Do you know how to
a
weld?
not as loud car. Yeah, I know how to
he knows how to weld.
You a
Yeah.
good welder?
I'm okay.
can-
I had a class.
I've seen him burn through metal. He can do it.
It's just a question.
I'm
It's
actually.
just, it's just a question.
I'm not trying to be a. All right.
I mean, the shop
Trying to
welder
be
is
what,
kind of
Zach?
like handicapped.
I'm not.
but-
Steve's not here, so we haven't hit any of our Steve markers.
You'll notice we didn't even bring a jar today, Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
You can weld, right?
Minimally.
I
So, like,
actually
I-
take a lot.
I don't know. Growing up, my dad had a MIG welder, and so I always he taught me at a young age, and I've always been able to MIG weld stuff. Never really done any TIG welding, at any more than like an hour worth of just playing with it. So I would say the correct answer to that is no. But I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, Misha used to
when I
weld
was
on
in-
diesels, right? And you used to weld up like crazy diesel stuff
weld the block back together and then put it back together, right?
with a MIG.
Well, no, as
With a MIG.
as a diesel
With a
mechanic,
stick
yeah.
welder.
Stick.
No, brazing. Just brazing. With an
Just braze the block together. JB weld, then braze.
Well, you say that like it's horribly wrong, but I have seen more than you would imagine big
Oh.
inch iron blocks
I bet.
that have had the mains brazed back into shape. Because, what are you gonna do? Just throw away
Don't
this
you just fill out?
expensive block?
Don't you just fill them with concrete or whatever?
No, the mains. You don't fill you can't make
Oh.
mains out of concrete.
Yeah, that
Yet.
makes sense. Yeah,
Yet. Somebody will figure it out.
Yeah.
Got your quick mains here.
Who's got that quick wheat?
Y'all got that quick
welder?
creep that does mains?
Who's got that quick wheat welder?
Which one of these welders does quickcrete?
Oh, please go into a shop
I'm
somewhere.
gonna go.
Please go into a shop somewhere.
No. We go to Harbor Freight tomorrow. Can I say that? Yeah, said it.
Quick
You're gonna overdub that too. Yeah. He's gonna go.
Not a
I'm
sponsor.
gonna go. He's gonna go. Any store. And go like, which one of these does just like concrete welding? Any of these concrete weld? Which one of these? What are they like? Central? I can't. I'm done.
Central machinery.
Yeah, central machinery. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so that's what you got to do to yours.
Yeah.
I gotta get a downpipe.
Quick trip?
Oh, is that cool?
Yeah, we
Okay.
love
I'll have
quick
an
trip.
actual exhaust on it, and then I'll have a car. And the
I haven't run the rolls.
electronic boost controller, and then I'll probably hopefully hit over 300.
So are you going to do all of that before you buy an MR2?
Yeah. I actually have to do that, so then I can sell the car.
Oh, we're selling the
Yeah.
STI to get an MR2.
Yes. Well, mainly to do other things, but yes, to get an MR2.
To get two MR2s.
Two MR2s.
Yeah, Mr. 2 and Mrs. 2.
Yeah, there you go. MS2 and MR2.
Yeah.
All right, anything else you want to jump on with the 207?
207s?
Just to throw out some more info?
They're awesome.
They're awesome.
Get them.
It's such a great,
great.
yeah. I mean, if you do it, if you want to do it, that's the way to do it. There's a right way to do it, and then there's not the right way to do
Do
it.
you want to talk about the pistons and why they're a little more?
I hear these
reliable
guys
now?
talk
Not,
about
not
it all
really.
the time.
Just there's the pistons are. The magic isn't in the pistons.
Really? Because I mean,
Not really.
the 257 ring lines.
Well-
not prone to failure at all. Really?
I don't think that's a 257 piston specific. I mean,
Well-
engines can. I mean,
When you take the ring,
in that room,
when you
there's
take the ring and you go like this with it,
What
it
room?
has to go
that
somewhere.
room right there.
The ring can't. It has to go somewhere.
Oh yeah, when it gets
So, yeah,
expands too much.
when
yeah.
you just punch them together, eventually it's gonna go. And
That's
go
what happened,
somewhere.
and why I needed to put a 207 in my
Well,
in my
you
car. in the
probably
first
should-
But you didn't break a ring line. You,
Yes, I did.
I thought you rod bearings in yours.
No.
Well, why weren't you driving it with just a ring line?
No, the ring because it literally whenever the ringland went, the blow-by was so bad it blew out all the seals, and then all the oil left.
Oh.
And then it locked it up. And this was all in like a
5-month period.
Just gonna say. Was he gonna tell us this is all on a highway?
5-second period.
It's all on
on a highway, yeah. One pull.
One
Yeah.
pull. Tugging.
I was just pulling on like a convertible Beetle. It was
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
Just one pull. It
Convertible.
all killed
Oh.
itself. Yeah. Okay.
God, I just threw up a little bit.
All right.
Yeah. No, I'm saying. So we had a the turbo. What is that? VG30 that's back there. With bigger turbos. It's got blown ringlands.
Really?
Yeah, that thing's from like 90.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, blown hard. Yeah.
I mean, there's still cylinder or piston left whenever you have a ringland.
There's piston left.
Some of it.
Yeah.
Some of it.
The biggest thing is the chunks. Where do the chunks go? That's what
Elsewhere.
That's what determines how if it will live for any longer.
See,
after
this is
that.
why if you make the mains out of concrete and keep them in wet
Yes.
state, they will suck all that stuff in. And then you have like a piston ringland drain valve.
There you go, guys. Perfect idea. Misha's
Write that down.
concrete maze.
Write that down.
Right, we've not.
Wow.
We can edit that out. It's fine.
It's so loud.
He warned me about this actually.
It's fine.
I forgot because did we have this last time?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, the first time maybe we didn't. That's
Yeah,
right.
we had it last time. It didn't do much, but we had it.
Yeah. You're gonna have to edit that out.
It's
The
okay.
smack? No,
Yeah.
I'm not leaving it. In.
There's things called volume control that we can mess with.
No, it's gonna be overdubbed again, and when you smack, we're just gonna make it say something else.
That's gonna be a squeak.
Yeah. No, just be a rubber ducky noise.
Yeah.
It'll just be the same guy from last week going smack.
Perfect.
Smack.
Oh. All right, me again. Yes.
So anyway,
All right.
anything with the 207?
No, that's it. I mean, we can go on for hours about it, but there's plenty
There's
of
so much to talk about. with
there's
it,
there's
but
plenty of information about it, and we can always
if you're looking for a reliable engine for your turbo application,
Yeah.
Subaru.
we can at some point. It'd be nice to show the difference between have models, have.
You guys want to see a
Yeah,
teardown
okay.
video? We can do that.
Yeah, exactly. We actually have we should post it a time lapse video of us doing a complete swap out of it. Just a car. We pull it in. We do a complete swap.
Is that on YouTube?
It's not on YouTube yet.
No, it's on a SD card.
It's on an SD card, yeah. Which we need to. I mean, it's an entire day, So yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's a lot of.
All right.
So
So
you've done a lot of those like WRX swaps, and like you haven't
A
had
ton.
You haven't had one come back
No, we've had no problems
with
it.
engine problems.
No.
No. They're just
If they're tuned correctly and all that, and they're taken care of.
that's just because you're not selling them to Leroy Jenkins.
No, we've sold a couple Leroys for sure.
Leroy.
I mean, everybody's loved them, and everybody, it's always the same sort of question of like, hey, I got this 02, 03, 04, whatever, and I want to do this, and then so I'll hear them out and go, that's cool, very very cool, but how about this? And some people are like, oh, I've never heard of this 207 thing. What is this holy grail of which you speak of? And then you explain it, and
his explanation is just JDM, bro.
pretty much,
JDM, yeah.
I just use one of those things that just JDM,
bro.
Yeah. And then they drive it
Hit
afterwards.
the JDM, bro
Yeah.
button.
Yeah. We put a button on the dash that
decimal,
says JDM, bro.
JDM, bro.
So you almost slapped it too.
No, I was gonna slap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've had like some people run corn in them with like a big.
A lot of corn.
Because
Yeah.
what's the VF30? It's a big single.
We've had some VF30 corns.
That made close to 400.
Yeah.
They were just like,
Yeah.
and stock everything else. Just
And
like,
actually,
okay.
we did one that Graham had remarked and said, I don't know how this one is doing what it does, but
Yeah.
and that one's been running for like 2 years. I mean,
on corn.
Nothing nice ever to that poor car.
You go back to your it all happened in one pull story about how your motor blew up. We had a guy when
It all happened in one pull.
this guy, we were building a motor for him. That was years ago, but he sent us, the shop pulled the motor, sent us this LS7 LSX block deal, and they were like, oh, it's sharing compression between two cylinders, and we're like, oh, okay, whatever. We get it apart, and it has a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch torch mark straight between the cylinders, through the head and the block, just like hole between the two center cylinders. And I was like, wow, this was real mad. And then we kept tearing it apart, and I was like, oh, look at that bearing. And it had all of the knock. All of it.
Oh boy.
The bearing was shaped like this when you took it out.
So it wasn't just the one pull.
No, it was not the one pull. I thought that was funny, though. He's like, yeah, it was just one time. One day it was fine, then the next it wasn't. I was like, mm-hmm.
Sure.
It was funny
When the motor's going ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Maybe you should stop.
Maybe.
Well, whenever these guys asked me what happened, whenever it actually did go in my car, I was like, the radio was on and I didn't really hear anything, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, the engine went.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody that knows me, I kind of listen to my radio a little loud, so.
If he ever drives your car, first thing you do before you start the car, unless you want to clean up your seat afterwards, is you have right hand on the key, left hand on the volume, and do this on left. Couple times, you know.
I like to feel the music. I think it sounds better loud.
No, you want to test how strong that speaker paper is. That's what you really want to test.
I just like.
It's still paper.
It sounds better.
Yeah.
It's still paper.
All right, so
Anyway.
moving on to current events.
Yes.
All right, let's start with new Supra.
Supra.
What do you guys think, new Supra? Let's start with what do you guys think of the new Supra?
I think that it was cute when it came out, but the Corvette is making it.
We're not even on that.
Not
We're not
really.
that far down the list yet.
Irrelevant.
We're talking about the Corvette. I'm just saying
Are you-
the
are you-
Corvette has
are you-
outshined the Supra.
Are you rice
And-
gumming the? Are you rice gumming the Supra right now?
It's
You're irrelevant.
it's weird to say because like I'm a JDM guy. Like I am all about JDM. Like I used to work for GM, and I think the Corvettes are awesome. But I will take a Toyota over a Chevy any day. But in retrospect, like with the hype that this Corvette has, this generation of Corvette has, versus like the Supra, it's just like anybody that was like a hardcore like what's the popular generation of Supra? Gen 3, the Mark 4.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
The Gen 3 Mark IV.
I know, yeah.
You
Whatever.
answer your own question.
Don't fact check that.
Yeah.
But those guys that were really in like the Fast and Furious Supras from whatever.
Yeah, it's Mark IV.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It's the Mark IV.
Mark IV, yeah. They
Gen 3 Mark
were all had mixed feelings about the
6-4.
Supra. Then I kind of had the same feelings. I looked at it and I was like, okay, like you can kind of tell like that it's like a super platform, but like you weren't really like taken back by it. Like, holy cow, I need that in my garage. I'm gonna sell my house to get that in the garage that I'm gonna have after I sell my house.
For me, it was kind of the stats that they released and the pictures of the car and everything. I was very underwhelmed.
You're talking just performance stats, or
Just like, yeah, I mean, you know, like the base horsepower to weight, and then like all the other stuff that they were, you know, this motor, this is what we're doing with it, you know, and all the stuff they gave at the when they released it or the launch or whatever. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, man, like $45,000. That is not like there's a lot of cars that on paper should be faster than that at $45,000.
well,
know?
they slapped BMW on the engine, and then that's where like 20 of the grand went.
But I think that was what I thought of it originally. Having seen them now out here busting off 10-second high 10 passes with a tune, supposedly with just a tune, and then I watched the teardown video that got posted all over the place. It looks interesting. I mean, it's the same, you know, powder forged rods or powdered metal rods.
Did you see they're coming out with a manual trans now?
Oh, are
Yeah,
they?
some companies already doing manual trans.
Yeah.
What a waste.
They're like, we need the manual car.
Doesn't like manuals.
If you want to go fast, buy an auto.
Say the manuals.
Well, for the drag strip, yeah.
Yeah, see a lot of manually shifted race cars at the highest level. Do you?
Not the highest, but it's still pretty freaking fast.
Yeah. You see,
Well, it depends on.
see a lot of Formula One cars out there with manuals in them.
They should have manuals.
Yeah.
in them. Are
Really?
you kidding?
Oh, come
That
on.
was so fun.
I honestly, I love Formula One, and that's, I think, one of the things that when they talk about making Formula One more difficult as part of the next rule change, that's one of the things that I super hope they don't change.
The transmission.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I mean, there's at that kind of like level of like engineering that you need to have.
Yeah, I don't think that you can do
like, there's no other way that you can.
But yeah, no, because that's what all the drivers want. They want, like Lewis Hamilton, right? He's like his comment, which is kind of controversial, but he said that Formula One should be a man's sport, or a grown-up sport or an adult sport or whatever, and that was in response to all of the young kids that got brought in this year. And he goes, if you're 16 years old and you can drive this car is too easy to drive, is basically what he said, paraphrasing. And so there's other drivers that agree with him that say, like, yeah, it's you should be exhausted when you get out of the car. That's what this.
I mean, but isn't that part of it though? Isn't the endurance and the ability to actually drive in place like appropriately? Isn't that part of it?
Yeah, I think he thinks that the entire thing should go up a notch, and in terms of like how on the edge it is, he thinks it should be further on the edge.
Just put obstacles in the course.
But yeah, I mean, every year
make it more difficult.
Every year at some of the races, they get animals on the course, which is funny. But no, I think I honestly, I don't, I know there are people that love manuals. I'm not one of them. It's whatever, I will take a paddle shifted auto or a regular auto all day.
Yeah,
it's personal preference,
Yeah.
It depends on what I'm driving or why I'm driving. Of course. Like if I'm got a daily job and I'm driving in traffic for like an hour to an hour and a half, like at least to get to my place of work, I'm not gonna prefer to drive a manual for sure. But I will take a manual if I can.
Anyway, irrelevant. I thought the 10-second pass, if it's true that it's just a tune, is impressive, and I thought the motor looked good. I saw a lot of concern about the fact that the manifold is built in, but I think my only real response to that is
you're talking the intake manifold?
No, the exhaust manifold is part of the head.
Well, I mean, they did that a lot.
But like
Honda did that for or does that.
But look at Cummins. Like all the Cummins have the built-in intake, and the guys just mill that part of the head off, and then bolt on it. And I don't think that's an issue. I think a lot of guys are saying like they're like talking about it online like it's going to be an issue in terms of making big power with it. And I think the companies that really do this, they look at that and say, "Cool, just change the head. Like just modify the head."
Modify,
right. Because I think there's a level of like the industry looks at stuff and says, "Oh, there's a solution to that," and the general populace who like has never seen somebody cut half of a head off to make it work.
Right.
Right. Just says, "Oh."
I think that was all like the tuner guys that were like putting like eBay headers on their B18 Hondas, like freaking out because they're like, "How are you going to modify it? Like, where are the headers going to go?" Like that's fine.
Yeah, but no, I think the engine looks good. I think the overall design, intake, and then the way that the cylinder head is laid out, I think it gives you a lot of room to do things. I see that being a big motor moving forward, partially because of the legacy, 2JZ. Everyone wants the new one to be this thing, and there's the ability that we have in this industry to, if we want this to be as cool as we want it to be, we can just make that happen. I think they'll figure that out. I don't imagine it'll be very long until you see someone crack 4 digits with that motor. I don't think it'll be long. I really don't think it'll be long until you see a 1,500 horsepower that motor. The 58.
Somebody spends some money.
At some point somebody's going to say, "Hey, I want to do it. I want to do it with this motor," and we'll figure out how to do it. It might be in a place where you don't have, in a part of the country that doesn't have the strict emissions, so they can get away with a wideband, or it'll be a track car, or get away with a
or a different country
ECU.
even,
Yeah,
different country. But
yeah, I could see that, especially in some of the countries with more lax emissions laws for cars. I could see you getting away with going with an aftermarket ECU.
Mexico.
Take all the cars down to Mexico. But yeah, I think I don't think it'll be long. I think I think 1,000 horsepower is coming.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you guys said, but I want to play whatever devil's advocate or whatever. But as with any car that is a remake of the previous car, I want to appeal to those people that it's not the same thing, and you're never going to get the same thing. It's 2019.
Well,
you're not going to make any other car, whatever it is, the GTR, the Mustang, the Camaro, it's not the same thing.
Here's the thing.
Best example of that, though, is the NSX.
The NSX is a great example of that.
The new NSX is awesome
Yeah.
for what it is.
Right.
But if you said, hey man, do you want an NSX or do you want an NSX? I'm taking the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's okay. So the '90s style, I mean, even the Supra for me too. The older, like Scooter said. I mean, it just has something about it. You know, maybe it's just because when we're younger.
Iconic.
Yeah, when we're younger
Yeah,
and we
it's
see
very
that there was
iconic.
nothing else like it.
It's like the 917 Porsche.
Yeah, I mean,
Same thing. It's iconic because it's iconic.
Yeah, and it's hard to like. Yes, it's great. Everything's awesome about it, but you know, so we work on Supras too, and I have a customer that emails me once a week about the latest Supra
You're talking
news.
about who I think you're
Yeah,
talking about? Okay.
and Eric and I would be like, I don't, you know, like. I also have the internet, so
Well, there's
I can read, you know.
but there's diehards though
Yeah.
too. You know, like
No, and it's just like there's always a comment about like I wish this was the '95 Supra that he has, and well, it's not 1995.
Yeah.
And as much as yes, I mean a car company would be awesome if they released like pick a car like Supra. This is literally a '95 Supra, you know,
Well,
with
I mean,
with
they've done
modern.
that with some cars.
Nissan. They're now offering full parts
RB parts.
full parts reproductions for most of the old cars,
All right.
including some of the Datsuns, the 240s.
Well-
Maybe the 510 will even be in there for
Well,
you as
actually, speaking of which, did the 510? Did they ever do anything with the 510? That they were going to do a couple
Oh
of years ago?
yeah, I remember that. No, they didn't.
The
Yeah.
revisit that they were trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
looked cool. The only thing
That was
about
actually a really cool.
very cool.
car.
That engine's great. That
that
they the
prototype.
design, but the only thing that the interest.
1.6.
It was. I don't remember what it was, but it was that 3-cylinder engine. I don't
Yeah.
remember what displacement it was. But the CVT is what killed it for
Yeah.
everybody. I mean, and there's all this talk about CVTs and having worked on CVTs every day, there are so many things about CVTs that are great and so many things that are bad, and they get a lot of bad rap because of how they're used and how they're maintained.
I mean,
If you maintain it how the actual manufacturer, the original design,
You mean change of fluid?
well, it's just not just that. It's a specific.
Well, but
yeah.
that's not fair either, though, because like you know, at this point, I think we're all aware that the Nissan like Sentra and Maxima one, that's the CVT, is just bad.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
like-
no, there's you know,
there's worse. There's definitely worse.
But I mean, 60.
There's another one,
60,000 miles.
a European one.
is
That's
replacement.
really great.
Minis.
How'd you have to watch it? Yeah. Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
there's
those
one
are-
right there, so I'm
Oh, is
staring
it?
at it. Yeah. Yeah. That one's not CVT, but.
So the CVT, did they put that in the S too, in the supercharged ones?
Oh man, I don't remember. They only did it for a few years at first. Well, we were doing a lot of them, and they turn out.
It's a perfect example of a car that is not as good as its original.
Oh, the Mini.
Oh,
Absolutely.
agreed. I mean, there's gonna be
The
if
Austin
you're
Mini?
if you're Mini fans,
Don't
more power to you. But yes, the original Mini.
No, don't get me wrong. I probably can't drive an original Mini.
Yeah, you could.
You think?
It's not as. Yeah, you were
You
talking
can-
about
oh,
driving
yeah.
a AC Cobra a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's the same.
But the kit car AC Cobras are not.
they're
AC
not
Cobras.
as.
They're not
Okay.
as.
Yeah.
They have further. They've.
Well, I
they've
mean,
rectified
you could
a lot of that.
you could do a Brat. If you can do a Brat, you can do an old Mini. I mean, it's.
I won't.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, a lot of people.
Old
want it.
Minis are cool.
Yeah.
Old Minis are cool. I watched the
Mr. Bean.
the Grand Tour the other day. The Grand Tour episode from last season where they revisited Lancia, and
Oh,
so first of all, if
Have
you
you
don't,
seen?
which
you don't
Lance?
car?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, we're
Okay,
good.
I'm curious now.
if you
I
guys
didn't
don't
see
know
it.
what Lancia is, they were a European car company that made some incredible rally cars, and honestly, they made a run for about, what did you say, 15 years of just like awesome cars, and then now don't at all. Like
Yeah.
they just don't. But there's on the Grand Tour, there's a group of guys in Europe that had figured out how to like make a new Lancia, and so it's the new Stratus. And
So,
it's
based on how the Stratus was, because
Have you
right,
seen it?
so it's
car?
super
see,
short.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Hold
So
on.
it's a
Can you- yeah, pull
it's
it
a
up.
Ferrari
Give me my phone.
430.
there.
I got.
Okay.
So it's a
worth-
Ferrari
it's worth
430.
looking
They took 10 inches out of the center of it to shorten it up, and then designed this whole body with kind of the same Stratus vibe to it. It's really cool looking, and Jeremy Clarkson is driving it on the Grand Tour, and he's like talking about how awesome it is, but he's also like, this car is a lot like the Stratus from before, where like you don't know what's happening next, right? Like you go into the same turn with the same line over and over again, and it's going to do a different thing. And he said, which is kind of like the Stratus of before, except this one's way faster and scarier.
So we actually did that a few years ago. We took
a 430 and...
No, yeah.
Wow.
Well, we did it with the Dodge Dakota, but it's the same thing. No.
They just call it the Stratus.
Stratus.
Yeah, the new Stratus.
We took all the stats, or we took times of Group B rally cars and pit them against newer rally cars, and you'd be surprised. And they were extremely fast, and the drivers were amazing. But you'd be surprised at how much quicker newer cars really are.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't think so, but we.
But also like
We also did. Okay, it's very similar. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, you say that, but also the.
What's the back shot from it? Or those are real Stratos?
No, this is
That's the Martini scheme.
There's
Yeah, there's a
Is that the two together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll post a link to the new Stratus somewhere. But yeah, we'll see that.
They couldn't see anything.
That worked. That worked the last time.
Worked every time. Yeah.
But no, so speaking of old cars with lap times comparable to new cars, the Porsche 917 held 2 records until the 2000s at Le Mans. One of them was distance until I think 2010, and the other one was top speed until like 2003.
What? Top speed?
Yeah, 241.9 on a certain straight. Yeah.
Until mid 2000.
Yeah, I think it was 2003. I could be wrong. That was from the same Grand Tour episode, actually. I thought that was really interesting. And that, some of the cars were still very fast. We have visitors now.
Yeah.
Go.
And again, Sunday morning at 6
a.m. I don't know what these people are doing.
People are here. One of these people should have brought us sandwiches. I'm not naming any name.
But no, I mean, I think it is interesting that you bring that up. That the old version, the iconic version, is almost always, you're never going to recreate the feeling.
No, it's a tribute. It's a tribute car. You're never.
You think?
With the new cars, yeah. I mean, you're getting.
I don't think the new Supra is designed as a tribute. I think it's designed to be a new Supra.
Well, if you're looking at
but
it,
it's not the old.
Right. It's not going to.
Yeah,
it'll never be.
Same.
It'll never be a Mark IV.
Yeah. It just doesn't have that.
You're looking at it in just
old
a
car
perspective
feel
of it being that car, like a rename of that car.
Yeah.
Like it's a tribute. Like it's not. It's a car that's a new car that's going to be an awesome driving like contemporary car, but it's still.
I think the same applies even to cars that never stop, right? Like the Mustang.
Yeah.
Right? Like people have this thought that like you'll eventually get to a Mustang that has that same feeling, but I think that like that's just your personal nostalgia, right? Like some people, like for us, for us probably everyone that's a car guy now, the part of everyone's love for the Mark IV is Fast and Furious. Like it's a cool car, don't get me wrong, but like we can't deny that like the fact that it's in Fast and Furious has a lot to do with why everyone's so obsessed with it.
Oh yeah, that was I think that was definitely like the movie that started it all.
You owe me a 10-second car, Brian. Isn't that what he says?
Yeah.
Sure.
Hey man, you still owe me a 10-second car.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
Pop the hood.
I don't know. I think we had like, let's say we had a new Mustang and it looks like the old Mustang, and then everybody's real excited and you get this nostalgic feeling until you open the door at the showroom and you close it and it feels like the '65 Mustang. Like, I don't know, man. How many of these did you make?
This is a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like, I really like it, but could do something out the doors, and then you drive it and you're like, okay, wait a minute, like.
Well, see, that is exactly why the hot rod world, like the whole of the hot rod world, has become so obsessed with the resto mods.
Yeah.
Like old cars, modern drivetrains,
Right.
all of the tech that the modern cars have, all of it just in the old body. I
Right.
think that's why they're obsessed with it, honestly.
But some of us, I go to sleep every night watching the same Walter Roll driving up Pikes Peak in an Audi Quattro video. That's what puts me to sleep. But not everybody's like that.
Interesting.
It loves me to sleep.
Interesting. Because it's so slow?
No, he's not
I was gonna
slow.
say it's because it like drags on.
He literally drives
Doesn't
into the
drag
sun like this. You know, I don't know how he does it. Yeah, and he finds time to shift. But you know, that guy's a machine.
Of the old cars, of the European old cars, what's your favorite? Because for me, no doubt, no question, Lancia Delta Integrale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, like 100%.
Yeah.
That is the coolest car. I
Right.
love those things.
Mm-hmm.
Old Jags are cool. Old Ferraris are cool. Old Lambos are cool. But like,
I was gonna say Type E probably
Delta.
for me.
That's your favorite?
Type E
Really?
for sure. It's just a quintessential freaking
Okay.
classic European car.
So I said this before. I think Lada Niva for me. I mean, Google it. What can't it do other than heat,
reliant
air conditioning?
I thought you were gonna
Yeah.
say a tank. And that's,
No. I think actually one of my favorites always is. I mean, other than of course excluding old Porsches, would probably be the Audi Quattro. You know the.
the older.
Why are we excluding old Porsches?
Well, it's an easy. Of course, they're gorgeous. You know. I mean,
Integrale
personally.
is better.
Integral, yeah.
That thing's
Oh
so
no,
cool.
Integral is. But
That's
see,
such a neat thing.
it's such an iconic car. The Delta. It's just like you want to like. What does it actually feel like?
Yeah.
Can I survive one city
Yeah.
block in this thing?
I
I don't
mean-
think I can. You know,
Right.
especially not the Group V version. Group
Yeah.
V version of it.
Yeah.
Like I mean, they were doing stuff like so. If we do this, how
With
many
the-
stages
with the-
you
with the
think we could
wing?
do before he dies? Like I don't know, all of them,
Yeah.
maybe one
With the
Yeah.
big outside wings on it. It was
Oh
crazy.
yeah, they were just removing structural parts of the car to make them lighter, so they can yeah, like that looks important. Yeah, but
How much does it weigh?
yeah, we need to get rid of that. Yeah.
Also, on the Mustang thing, the S550 is a nice car. Nice looking car. The new Mustang.
The new Mustang, but it's still right. But
They
it's
nailed that.
It's
I
still
think they
not
nailed that one.
like the kind Steve has.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they nailed that.
No,
design.
it's a
That
great
is
looking car.
Gorgeous car.
It's a
I
great
wouldn't
looking
want
car.
it to. I would like if GM or Ford or any of the big guys like wanted to make, you know, obviously they did a few years ago. They tried like to bring back that nostalgia with the look of the cars, and if they ever wanted to do that again, I would like just say please don't. Right? Like, I like it, don't get me wrong, I understand, like, why everyone wanted the old-looking Camaro, the old-looking Challenger, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
What's new?
Mustang did that, right? And the Mustang went from the 2002-3 body style to that kind of retro
The
look,
front, yeah, the front ends.
and they got way better with the S550. Like, I think that the new versions of that just look way better than the retro one.
Yeah.
And at this point, I want them to keep going that direction. Like, give us more S550 stuff. Like, give me, like, that kind of line. Give me, you know, like, with the Camaro even. Like, I like the new Camaro, but I don't think it's as pretty as the S550.
But and they can, but where can they go with it? You know, that's the thing. How
I'd like to see.
how many, you know, versions of that design can they
Right.
go? But I don't know. But you're right. I mean, it's that's why for me the Supra. I mean, it looks like the Supra, but it doesn't look like the Supra at all. I have opinions about how it looks and what I think. You know, like Toyota's idea of what of it was, but you know, I'm not gonna say those right now. But you know, it's just it's okay for me.
Not a fan.
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan. It's impressive, of course. You know,
Did you kind of have the same thought that I did when you first saw it? Like,
I thought this was gonna be insane.
really?
Yeah, I thought it really was, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's.
Yeah.
I got it. You know, it's a $45,000 Toyota. I get it. You know.
So on the other side of the spectrum, the C8 drops,
Right.
and I find this.
Well, this is
very-
actually the same spectrum, I think, just a different company doing.
I think it's on the totally opposite
think so?
side.
Yeah, this is a.
I think
know.
I think $60,000 for that
Polar
car
opposite.
is crazy cheap.
super cheap, but look what they did with this car, which they could have done the same thing with any other car that came out that was this, you know, just because it's a new version of the Corvette. I mean, you just get a good bang for your buck, is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Oh, I mean it's a gorgeous looking car, but it's like the conversation that I've been hearing a lot. It's a gorgeous looking car, but I don't like this about it, right? Which
Well, you're gonna get a lot of that because it's kind of like
Right, it's-
it's its own little animal.
yeah, but it's really cool, and I've been talking to people about this because I find it like incredible what just the release of the C8 is coming for real. Here's the details on it. Did to the Corvette market, like the used Corvette market, was just like, Which is cool because it makes like
Yeah.
a lot of the C6 Z06s cheaper. You know, the Grand Sports, the C6 Grand
We
Sport.
can buy. We can buy. I'll go buy Corvettes tomorrow.
I mean, the C6 Grand Sport is like one of my favorites of the modern Corvettes, and it's nice to see those starting to fall a bit because I was never going to pay that for it because I'm just going to
tear it apart.
Yeah, and make it nasty and then have fun with it. And,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of those sat a lot of times and didn't get driven as much, but I think it's interesting, you know. And there was a leak that we saw on our cars earlier. That was the 251 package is for sure $5,000, which makes the
250.
Z51. Sorry, yeah.
The Supra.
Yeah, really? The little single jingle Subaru engine is gonna... I don't think they're doing it the right way.
They put a boxer in it.
Yeah, that's an NA Super engine.
Yeah.
The EJ250.
Here's what we decided to do: 7 251s. Kind of like a air-cooled,
rotary engine.
not a rotary.
Radial.
Radial airplane. Yeah.
But you know, if that's $5,000, you're talking $65,000 for a car that, you know, we're all assuming is going to handle well. But I can't imagine that at this point they would put out a car that doesn't.
No.
It's going to have big brakes.
Well,
it's going to go
yeah.
0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds. Like, that's an insane package.
Mm-hmm.
And I
feel
think
like
that price point it has to be hurting the Supra sales. I know there's diehards that are going to buy it, but I feel like
I think
20,000
other cars
more
as well.
for- yeah.
Not just that car. You
No,
know?
this is like, I mean, just the publicity that they've stirred up for this car. And I'm like, never gonna buy a Chevy probably, but like I would look at that car and I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, Chevy, you're doing things, all right. Because it's just you can't deny it. It's a good looking Corvette, and the fact that it's mid mount engine, like, oh my god, that's just, I don't know, best of both worlds. For
Saw
me.
the same complaint. Never going to be a manual. Saw the same complaint.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
You're gonna.
people were like,
Yeah.
You're gonna.
I'm not sure if that car. I mean, for me, that car, I'm not so stuck on manual for that car. Smaller car, I like manuals, you know. But if you get a big car, I mean, I'm a scooter. It's like, if it's a big car, and especially, I mean, what's the point? If it's got a lot of power and you're going to do straight line stuff, what's the point of manual?
or not even straight line. Like, I think with the mid mount, I have a feeling the mid engine is going to make it more difficult for guys to hook up big power at stock on stock suspension like they could with the C6s and the C7s.
Why?
You can hook big power.
Why is that? What do you think? Why is that?
I think part of the reason that you could do that was the weight transfer, which I think is going to change a little bit. I think you'll still be able to put big power on it, but I think, like there's guys running 8s on C6s with stock suspension in the back. It's like, I don't know that you'll be able to do that with this. Maybe you can. Obviously, they're going 0 to 60 in under 3, but 0 to 60 in under 3 is a lot different than 60 footing in the 1.3 second range.
Right, and they haven't released of what type of suspension this thing's running or nothing.
I mean, there's pictures of it online, but of when they had that
Leaf spring,
halfway
I think.
cutaway.
Leaf springs?
Yeah, leaf
Front and rear leaf springs, yeah.
Straight axle.
Four leaf springs.
Pogo. Yeah. Comes with a waterbed as a seat. Yeah, that's what they're doing. Well, we threw everything at the engine, so everything else is...
Yeah, you guys wanted a mid-engine Corvette.
There it is. We got
save
you.
money somewhere.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Did you see the Nissan, the GTR, the new concept of the GTR as a mid-engine
Oh, is it?
car? Yeah.
Well, that has a lot to do with their absolute failure at Le Mans.
Le Mans.
Absolute failure.
What, in the GTR
Damn.
platform?
Yeah, they did the front.
Strong words there.
I mean, they did the front engine
Yeah.
Le Mans car. Le Mans.
I feel like it has something to do with the fact that Corvette has gotten a lot of publicity for this.
No.
C8.
No.
No, I think they designed it.
The Nissan GTR racing team for Le Mans runs in LMP1, and they did a front engine LMP1 car because they were trying to like GTR blah blah blah. Like they put design cues on it that was like GTR inspired, and they had horrible results. So I have a feeling that their desire to change is now strummed from the fact that like, oh, yeah, we can't do this.
How did they fail? What was their...
Well, they also did more races up leading up to it than everyone else, but they brought 3 cars, and none of them finished in the Amazon series at least, and then I don't think they did very well last year either.
Like engine failures or
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up. But yeah, I mean, they did. I think they were trying to. The Amazon Prime has a 24 hours of Le Mans little documentary thing, and they talked to the guys from Nissan, and they were like, it was not a good year for them.
They're like, what happened?
And then I think at the end it said they discontinued it after another year. Or something.
Oh, wow.
The whole program, the LMP1 program. But LMP1 is really, it's a Porsche and Audi game now. It really has just become where those guys show off.
You know a lot more about that.
Yeah.
Than us.
I love Le Mans.
For sure.
I think Le Mans is one of the most interesting races in the world. Just for the fact that when, like...
Well, we watched the other one, Le Mans.
Yeah.
We don't know about the one.
Me too. I was like, there's another race there. I don't know if you heard about it.
Le Mans.
It's called Le Mans.
Le Mans.
I've heard of that.
The men's. Yeah. The men's race. It's all of this. You know.
Fine.
That's the
I was being a stuck-up
that's
Le
the
Mans
enthusiast. Tour D.
No, I do watch. I mean, if I'm honest, I watch a lot of the pro racing at that level, Formula One.
Yeah. Oh, I know you do.
Like,
yeah.
you know, I really enjoy that stuff. I think it's interesting to see what they're doing, and especially when you get to watch the documentaries about it. Like the Netflix documentary on Formula One is awesome. If you haven't watched that, you should watch that.
I don't know.
We're about to be out of battery.
How do you know this?
Was it blinking?
I can see the battery logo.
Sick.
You got the other one charging?
Yeah.
Is the other battery charging?
Actually, no. The cable is on the stand right there. Perfect.
All right, so I guess we're gonna end this here then.
I mean, how much really is that? You know, I can't see it.
Hold on. I can tell you in a second here.
All right. Pause.
Pause.
Pause. Nah, it's fine. This is all planned.
What does it mean when it just says low battery and it doesn't tell you anything?
I think it's done telling you all the different, 5%.
Here, just stop recording. We'll swap the other battery in and keep going.
Okay, should we do a pose?
Okay.
And then try to match,
match the pose.
Match the pose.
All right.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Minor battery technical difficulties. We're also gonna have to do this one more time. So
Yeah, probably, yeah. So yeah, being Misha is great. It's just having this beer.
Oh,
and
we're pretending to be each other.
No, that was my
Well, we were just gonna.
poopy attempt at it.
Yeah, there you go.
At a laugh.
Poopy attempt.
I need
I got this
to
beer
shave
now,
my
that's-
head and go get a hat. Hold on.
Yeah. Can you be a little more pretty, please?
Oh wow! That's all right. I'm ugly.
Zach, you're a beautiful man. I just want to let you know that.
Anyway, we were talking about
Can't touch him yet.
about racing.
Le Mans.
Le Mans.
Le Mans.
Le Mans.
So what do you guys not watch any racing?
No.
Rally. I watch Rally.
You watch like WRC?
I've seen Speed Racer once.
Doing terrific, bud. Doing terrific.
We watch Rally. I mean, that's basically what we.
Yeah.
I mean, we actually go out and to the
Yeah,
races.
live rally and sometimes not live rally.
And then I've been to Formula Drift before. I didn't actually go to this last one because I was too busy.
Yeah,
Busy painting my.
Busy.
I was painting my engine
He was
component.
painting an engine compartment that
I
time.
decided to paint my trunk.
Why am I from Harlem?
I don't know. Why are you from Harlem?
Decided to paint my trunk.
Jesus.
I don't know. I'm being Zach.
No, so you don't. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
So the 251 package. And
The 251 package.
it's funny. I saw that written there. Like he's gonna say 251 because I looked there for like what the hell? What's a two? Oh, it's Z. That's what I meant.
Yeah, your Z is
I
like
have-
twos, man.
Yeah, my Z looks like a 2, and my name
On your
starts
nose.
with a Z. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. So you were.
You would
Toluca?
think
You're 2-act Luker.
2-act Luker. I'm good at things.
It's
yes.
early. It's really early.
It's so
It's so
early.
early on a Sunday.
Sunday.
Just can't believe we get up for this. You know what I mean?
I haven't slept.
Haven't slept.
I'm still. This is Saturday for me.
He leaves here to go fishing
I did sleep here actually. That was fun.
in the cot. Yeah.
Yeah. After we recorded the last podcast, I had to be here early, and we weren't done till like 1:30, 2.
In the
Yeah, I was
afternoon on
like-
Sunday.
I think I might try to sleep here. And Zach was like, "Hey, I got a cot," and I was like, "You got a cot?"
Why do you have a
I was
cot?
like, "Yeah, you got." I was like,
Who
"Dang,
doesn't?
man."
Who doesn't carry a cot with him at all times?
So I got a cot. That's it.
You have a Forester. You're the perfect person to have a cot.
I was gonna
and a
say
tent.
that's like part of the package, isn't it?
I have a Forester. That is a cot with 4 wheels.
No.
Yes, I slept in that thing many times. Can't
Is it full flat?
That is true.
It's full-ish flat.
So it's got
It
the-
just has
got
that
the rake.
perfect,
It's
yeah,
the
little
sleep
bit.
number incline, man.
Yeah, it's a number 31, I think.
Yeah.
We
But it is not super long, so you do have to kind of do the
The legacies.
ever so slight.
Legacies
Yeah,
are
the
the
legacy's the
perfect.
beautiful one.
Legacies are.
S10 Blazers are the beautiful ones. Full flat, all the way flat.
Sure, of course, all
It's
the
a
way
truck,
flat.
though.
That's
You're
a-
basically sleeping in the back.
No,
of
it's
a
a
truck.
the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing.
S10 Blazer.
But
It's
it's
an
a truck
SUV.
platform, isn't it?
I mean, that's a Subaru truck
What?
platform.
What does that even mean? That's a truck platform. Do you
Does
know?
it actually have seats in the back on yours?
Yeah.
It's a Blazer.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking like the older ones where they were just like, the beds were covered and
No.
they were like, oh, it's a
No, that
Blazer.
was never a thing.
You're
No.
thinking of like an El Camino.
I don't know what I'm thinking. Of.
You boy,
It's so early.
No, so you're thinking of K5, early K5s. So they do have seats in the back, but the whole top is removable.
Ah, okay.
Right? And then
Okay.
yeah, so they do have seats in the back. A lot of
We're talking like Back to the Future.
that. I don't know.
That was a.
That's a DeLorean.
No,
I
that's
think.
no. The truck that the guys like try to race him in because he had at the end when he raced. Yeah, no, that was a DeLorean.
I could just
But he
imagine
had a Toyota.
Instead of the DeLorean, they would use the K5 Blazer. It's just, oh god.
It would have been so much better.
Yeah.
No, at the end when they raced,
The amount of trash you could carry with you.
I think they had a K5 Blazer that he raced against, and the ones that almost crashed into the Range Rover, but he like put it in
Can I
reverse.
say something that's probably gonna make the internet upset? I don't think I've ever seen the entirety of Back to the Future.
It was at the very end.
I think I've seen like
So.
like portions of it while it's been on like Spike TV and Showtime and stuff, but not like I don't think I've ever watched the whole thing for real. The internet's gonna crucify me now.
I think
It's,
I think you're gonna get slammed, but
No,
it's okay.
It's a great movie.
I mean, have you heard that comedian's bit about the guys who had to go in and pitch Back to the Future? That's pretty funny. I'll figure out who it is.
It sounds good.
But it's
We'll put a link
we have
right here.
it starts off like we have an idea. We're here to pitch you the next great action movie. It's about a kid who's friends with a disgraced nuclear physicist. That's
It's
good.
got a car that runs on
It's
trash.
John Mulaney.
Oh yeah.
John Mulaney.
Oh yeah, he's
about-
awesome.
Yeah,
He's
it's
hilarious.
so funny.
I
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah.
You're like John. You just call him John, like your friends.
He's my friend.
You know, friend. You know your
He's my
friends.
comedy friend.
He's your
Yeah.
comedy friend.
He's got a
Ever
lot.
since I heard his like drunk story, it's like why he doesn't drink anymore because like he would go into parties and like be like, "Is this perfume or gin?" and then chug it and then be like, "It was perfume." He's like, and that's why I don't drink anymore. And I was
Yeah.
like, John, man, that's so great.
He pulled him aside. He said, "John, man,
John,
look."
man. Little guys. John.
I really wish we could be friends, John, if you're out there.
John, if you stumble upon our small podcast and you would like to be friends with Tom,
If you for some reason get into
reach
the
out to
car
me.
world-
I'll tell you all the reasons why it's not a good idea.
Anyway,
Just your like favorite comedian reaches out and I'm just like, listen.
Before this gets out of control.
I need you to know this is the most excited I've ever heard him be about anyone. I think you might have a problem if you go down this
oh
road.
god.
All right, what else you guys want? Anything else?
I don't know. We can start wrapping it up. Oh, we should. So, do we want to? So we've been talking about. Oh God, and Steve's not here, so I can do my arm flailing because he's the only one that gives, you know. I mean, I'm in the middle now,
I'm
so
kidding. I'm kidding. It's fine.
I don't know where that goes. You know, it's
Great idea.
It's real brick.
It's real.
We didn't just panel this with brick. You know,
It's it's
You
field
can
dried.
see the.
it's field dried.
It's field dried.
This is field dried.
You know how I know that?
I want to know.
You know how I know that?
Because the guy that used to be part of the family that owned the dealership of the building that we're in was snooping.
Oh yeah, that day when he came in.
Yeah.
And he was just like,
And
oh,
he was,
my family owned
continuously-
this place.
Yeah, and he was like walking around like, dude, what are you doing? And then he would like just look at the brick and be like, yeah, this is field dried brick. We used to get raccoon prints in some of the brick. You might see them on some of the. And I was like, I don't know why I'm going to remember this forever, but thank you for that. I didn't want to know that
never
this was
lose
field
that
dried
piece of
brick.
information.
But
One
now
thing
I
you don't know about me is I know all animal tracks. Raccoon. That's hippo. That's definitely hippo.
Baby hippo? Or?
Alpaca. This might be alpaca or like Siberian tiger thing.
Okay.
Very similar.
Can you find me a rabbit track?
We're gonna leave that one alone.
Coney track. Are rabbits actually called conies, or is that just a?
Conies?
Yeah.
Those are shocks.
Well,
I thought that
from
was
like Lord of the Rings.
I thought that was a
Are rabbits actually called conies?
like a thing that Coney 2020 Coney 2010. Remember that thing? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about when Sam's like when Smeagol brings 2 dead rabbits and throws it on Frodo's lap, and then Sam's like, "There's only one way to cook a couple of conies," and then they put them in a stew. No, okay. I'm just wondering if that's actually a thing.
I've never heard that.
I think it's just
I don't
a
know.
little
I've also
thing.
never had rabbit stew, so I could be wrong on this one.
I was trying to ask the resident, animal track expert here if coney tracks.
Never
were a
said
thing.
I ate them. Just can tell what tracks they are.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. I don't know where it's going with it, but anyway, we should. You want to wrap it up? You
Yeah.
wanna...
No, we got a fun weekend coming up.
It'll be at the dyno.
At the dyno. all
Got a dyno weekend.
And then there's a bunch of stuff going on too locally, so should be a good automotive weekend if you're out doing stuff.
Heck yeah.
So, all right, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week, probably with our friend Steve back.
Steve will be back. Don't worry.
He's not gone forever.
No.
All right, thanks, guys. See you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you. I said thank you like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I touch you now?
Can I touch you now? No, let me just stick with that.